Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica.m.bijoux.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Decide to Move podcast. I always tell you I have amazing guests, and today is no exception. I have Tunch Diptas. He is here to talk to us about discovering your purpose and also how to create that new normal, because we understand 2020 has definitely been a year that has issued us more than what we bargained for. So people have had to make multiple pivotal shifts in their life as well as in their business. So he's here to teach you how to actually find that purpose, along also looking at how do you discover that or make or create a new normal in your life. Without further ado, how about Tunch Diptas? How are you doing today, Tunch?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Most definitely. And like your thing says, live with purpose. And I absolutely love that. Can you tell the listeners and those that's going to be viewing this via YouTube all about you, who you are, and how do you hail to, like, you actually are in Los Angeles, but how did you get to LA?
Well, I actually grew up in Turkey and I was born in Turkey, and then I had a very challenging growing up, and I had family issues. I had ADHD challenge. I had, the way I was growing up was always like full of challenges, and then it's a developing country. So, but one thing that I knew, that's what I want to talk about today. Everything has a purpose. I knew my purpose was to grow and add value to people's lives, even when I was growing up. So that was my motivation. And so I focused on what I can do in this world, who I can help, and overcome those challenges. If you want, I can talk about that, like how I moved to the States and how I made it happen.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, give people the foundation of, you said that you had a very, challenging childhood, especially in a third world country. What was that journey like? What did you actually, like, you don't have to go into full details unless you care to, about what you actually went through, and what was the moment where you discovered or decided that you were going to leave your home country and come to a foreign country?
Um, First of all, I talk about this because I know that it inspires people. I love
Mm-hmm.
my parents. I am who I am today because of them. But when I was growing up, um, I had an abusive childhood. My dad was alcoholic, and my mom was so strict, and she criticized me for everything I was doing at that time. And I had ADHD that I didn't know. That was the funny part, and in Turkey, nobody knew at that time. So I was forgetful, I was clumsy, and I was always bored, and I couldn't focus on things. I was failing at school, struggling with all of those things. And even my friends made fun of me all the time for being clumsy, for being impulsive. And so I remember actually a story that I was when I was probably 8, 9 years old. I was falling all the time when I was playing in the garden of the school, and I was just falling. And then one day I fell really hard on my chin, and there needed to be a stitch, and there was a big wound, and I was so in pain. And I went back to my classroom, and I was just holding my chin. There was so much blood, and then my teacher saw me, and she said, "Again, you fell again. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing that all the time?" So she looked at me like something is wrong with me, and she told me that in front of the all of my peers. And it's a developing country. The education system is not that great, and so that's how I felt. And then they called my mom, and then my mom came to school, and my mom said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you like this?" And that day, that I didn't realize for years, until 5 years ago, I figured it out, that I had my primary question was, what's wrong with me? And I kept asking that question, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? every time I was forgetful, every time I was bored, every time I was impulsive. And it became my primary question. And that's how I lived my life for a long time. So that was my childhood. But one thing that God given just was a gift to me that I wanted to grow and I wanted to make a difference in this world. And that's why I had, thank God's, seek and you shall receive. If you ask intelligently, I believe that God, universe, and just intelligence, whatever you want to call it, gives you what you need. And I was seeking meaning when I was even 10, 11 years old. I asked myself, why am I here? What's going on? Who is the creator? How can I make a difference in this world? And that's why I met my first mentor. She helped me answer my questions. And when you ask meaningful questions, life is full of miracles. That's what I believe. That's why whenever I coach clients, the first thing I say to them, instead of giving answers, ask intelligent questions that life will support you. And that's why I was able to meet my first mentor. She helped me to come up with the answers and then find out about my purpose and kept growing from there. That's why I moved to the States. I couldn't speak English. I didn't have resources. I didn't have contacts. I didn't have any money. But I wanted to explore the world and I wanted to grow and I wanted to make a difference. So I moved to the States and I remember one day going to library because I wanted to learn English as soon as possible. I couldn't speak any. And the first audiobook I picked up was from Tony Robbins. By coincidence or not, it's just everything happens for a reason. That's why I believe that. And I found more answers from Tony Robbins audiobooks. And then I learned from Simon Sinek. I learned from others like Zig Ziglar and Tim Ferriss. So I kept growing and then I kept coaching myself and then coaching the others. And then I became a certified financial planner in the corporate world. So I couldn't speak English in the beginning. And then I worked in a corporate job in a bank as a teller without speaking really not good English. But I became a certified financial planner. I became a top sales person when I was in the corporate world. And then I decided to give back and I started my coaching company. Now I'm a high performance coach, helping corporate executives, CEOs, and to overcome stress, help them with accelerate their career. And then also so important, nothing is more important than feeling fulfilled besides being successful. So that's my quick journey. And now I help people to discover their purpose. And with that, it's easier to become successful, feel fulfilled, and then also pivot to where you really need to go, you want to go, and then who you really are. That's another thing, that embracing who you are is so important. And that's what I preach to my clients. And sometimes people ask me, how do you coach people? How do you help them? And I said, I don't coach people. I don't give them answers. I help them find who they are. And then the rest is easy. When you know your purpose, embrace who you are, and the life is more meaningful that way.
Wow. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story. First of all, I commend you because, like I also grew up in a very abusive home and went through a lot of different trials and tribulations. But I honestly can say, just like you, those things that I went through, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, with that. And so it's, instead of having that victim mentality, you've taken your experiences and decided to help other people find out what their purpose is, because that was the mission that you have. So thank you for that. I mean, honestly, I say I'm proud and tip my hat off to you because of that. I think this totally admirable.
Let me add one thing
Go ahead.
that I wanted
Mhm.
to, I don't want to forget the story. I want to finish the story. The question I kept asking myself was, what's wrong with me? Because of that one childhood story, one childhood experience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's so important for everyone to see what's the primary question that you are asking yourself. And when I realize that's my primary question to ask myself when I'm challenged, when I'm stressed, that I decided to change. That's just like your name of your show, decided to move, right? Decided to change. Decision is so important. And I decided to say, how can I appreciate and love myself and people and my creator now? And that's
Yeah.
the question when I keep asking and when I'm challenged, when I'm stressed, my mind works differently in that case.
Yeah, and that's so true. When it, like you said, it's about asking the right questions. And so instead of saying what's wrong with you, it's what's right about you. What is it that the things that you went through, or the experiences that you have, or like you having issues where you're forgetting things. Well, then you create a system that helps you with that. Falling all the time. Okay, what do I need to do to put in place where that is no longer the? Is it paying attention to my where I'm going? Like what exactly is it? So when we start focusing on what's right about me and using the gifts that we have naturally, it the world opens up. It's so amazing because I once again I can identify with those questions and people instilling little things in your head and telling you it's like that tape recorder. And I often tell my clients to stop the tape recorder, hit rewind, and we're going to record a new message, the one that's actually the accurate message, because a lot of times hurt people. So the things that they're telling us, of course, we're looking at them as our parents and, authority figures, and come to find out they are struggling with their own stuff, but we take it on as if it's fact and truth.
Beautiful. Beautiful message. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so for that. So, can you go into telling people, not just me, but those that are listening and watching this via YouTube, what are some ways that people can actually discover, like what steps that do they need to take to actually start discovering their purpose?
So I think first of all, purpose is our origin story. Purpose is comes from who we are, from our background, and also um, I believe that everything has purpose in this world. And so again, asking the right questions to find out why am I here? What do I do here? That's the first thing. But the better question is to find out the purpose and what's easy to me, what's natural to me, and what comes to me that I don't give too much effort, but also I do it well. That's the first question that I ask myself to find my purpose. And as soon as I asked that question, I figured out that I love talking to people, sharing ideas, connecting with people. So that's one thing that I ask. And the second thing is, and I ask my friends. I said, what do I do differently? Why are we friends? How do you feel when you're around me? What is the feeling that you have when you're around me? And then people said to me, you're inspiring. I feel growth with you. You disrupt me. That's one of my mentors actually told me that you disrupt me. And then when I hear that, I was feeling like, okay, um, it's not that great word, disruption. However, at the same time, um, I make people get out of their comfort zone. And then also the third thing I did is I asked my colleagues, what makes me different? And my boss, I asked, what makes me different than the others? How do I work? And my boss said, you're tenacious, you're passionate. Whatever you do, you give your 100%. So all of this information, um, I put it together and I see that what makes me different. And when I do that, um, then I come up with a purpose statement. So the last thing, which is so important, that we gotta go and then find out the stories from our background, from our childhood, which is if I ask that question to myself, like who inspired me, like my mentor, what was inspiring about her that in what's inspiring about her that inspired me, so that made me different. That's how I came up with my purpose statement, which gives me juice to move forward in life every time if I need a motivation. Like when we think about, even COVID has purpose, and even everything, life has purpose, animals have purpose, plants have purpose, right? So but if you when you find out why you do what you do, that will give you more motivation than anything else, and that makes you keep going. So my purpose statement I came up with is to reveal impactful mindset shifts for people, so we are each inspired to have an authentic and meaningful life. I love embracing who I am and then creating meaningful life. And I want to inspire people to do the same. And naturally, I connect with people and I disrupt them. I get them out of comfort zone to have impactful mindset shifts, so they can open up and then embrace who they are and create the meaningful life. So
Uh,
that's what the purpose. One other thing that it's funny, it's all about asking good questions. Sometimes, who are you envious about? Like, who are you jealous about? That's like, I used to be so, I look at the people that who created, the nice speeches or books. And I said, okay, I want to do the same, but I couldn't move forward. As soon as I came up with my purpose, and I moved forward and I said, okay, I like to give speeches, I like to write books, and I want to be out there influencing people. That's what makes me happy. And when you love what you do, it's totally different life. Then nothing else is important, because you can focus on your purpose, you can be obsessed with your purpose, and that's how you create a meaningful and purposeful life.
that is so beautiful. I love that. And, right now, being that it's the end of the year and we're going into a new year, 2021, people have been searching for a long time, especially this year, of defining what their purpose is. And so this is a great opportunity for those that haven't, or they're still searching, or they're feeling stuck and they have those voices or people's sayings playing in your head over and over again. This is a perfect and opportune time for you to stop the recorder, hit rewind, and discover what your purpose is by really taking stock and inventory of who you are. Like, who am I really? Ask your, like, who am I? What do I like? What I don't like? And what I appreciated you saying is like, who are you jealous of? It's not necessarily the person, it's the characteristics. What is it about their characteristics that you aspire to be like? So instead of looking at it as a person that you're jealous of, look at it as a figuring out what is it that they're doing, because you have the opportunity to do it too. And I think a lot of times we don't understand that. Like, we all are given, now I wouldn't say all are given the same opportunity. We all have the same time of the day, but you can actually make opportunities for yourself.
And one thing that I want to add there, it's nothing is more important than embracing who you really are.
Yes.
And we all are uh, taught when we were growing up. I remember that's the reason that I was having so much problems when I was at school, that I was thinking I have to learn everything to be loved by my teachers, by my parents, and by my peers, so that I have to be so good at everything. However, if you and then I remember even today it's the same. I focus on what I love. I'm obsessed with what I love. And that's why when we were growing up, if we realized that this is what I love doing, and then focus on that, and then be keep growing in that area, I think, and then embracing who you are, and instead of blending in, we gotta keep working on standing out by being unique. And that's one thing that I struggle with ADHD, and that's the first thing I came up with to overcome ADHD symptoms: embracing who I am. So that's why when I think now I'm forgetful. I used to beat myself up every day for being forgetful, being impulsive. Now I say, I'm not forgetful. I focus on what's important only. So I reframed it, but I embracing who I am. And I
Hmm.
said, I'm not impulsive. I'm honest. I'm always telling the truth to people. And then I said, yes, I get bored so easily, but that makes me grow more than anybody else. And I can hyper focus more than anybody else. That's what makes me unique. So instead of saying this is what I love, our imperfections makes us unique. That comes from embracing who we are really.
Yeah, I love that because for me, I have learned definitely to embrace my imperfections. But one question I do have for you, you said that it was not till 5 years ago when you stopped asking yourself that question. How did continue to ask yourself, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? How did that cause such a issue for you when you were looking at your purpose? How did that disrupt your purpose? And I'm not talking about disruption in the positive way either. I'm talking about disrupting and keeping you from being able to really open your eyes and embrace who you are.
Um, the question, what's wrong with me, actually um, gave me so much stress. And at some point, I remember I also I became so successful in corporate finance world. I was a certified financial planner and also top producer in my business, in my job. And because I knew my purpose, I wanted to grow and I wanted to add value to people's lives. However, when you make a mistake, when I was making an even small mistake, that question came up, what's wrong with you? And that gave me so much stress. And I felt miserable. I felt like all the time I was beating myself up. And yes, I was so successful, but I was so miserable. And I went to a doctor, actually. One of my friends told me that, hey, you have ADHD. You should go see a psychiatrist and therapist. And I did that. And then they diagnosed me with ADHD. And the first thing they did give it to me is it's so many medicine and just Ritalin, Concerta, Adderall. And I started using those. And I felt more anxiety and then more depressed. So I said, I got to change things. That's one thing that I did is changing my question to myself. And I start asking myself, how can I appreciate and love myself right now? I changed my focus. I directed my focus to what I have instead of what I don't have. I was number one in my area. I was making six-figure income. And then I started my own business that I love. Instead of saying what am I failing, I start asking myself, what do I do really well? How can I love myself and appreciate myself right now? And that's the not tomorrow, right now. And those kind of things change how I think about life, how I think about who I am, and then how I can move forward in life.
And and we've talked, the last time we talked was like in the summertime, and just since the summer you have accomplished so much since the last time we talked, and it's amazing that you're hyper focused, and being able to just focus on the things that you love has created you another business. You now are finishing your ebook. Like, there's just so many great things that you have accomplished since the last time we talked, and that was like about 6 months ago.
Yeah, and I've been coaching clients, and then also I'm still in the corporate finance world, and then helping people with their finances. So, but there's another thing that came up with the new world, new normal after COVID hit, and I own another company which is digital marketing. Consulting, and I have partners who help me with that. That's not my expertise, but one thing that I see is the new normal will bring opportunities. And as soon as COVID hit, most people got really down and they were depressed, and then they stopped doing things. There's a reason for that, because if we focus on what we can't control, it's harder to move in life. If we focus on our purpose, it's easier to pivot to what's important and what's the new opportunity. So I've just seen the new opportunity about digital marketing, and I partnered with people that were really expert in their business, that we created a digital marketing company. And now I'm helping coaches, I'm helping people to create their own brand and then help them with websites or whatever they need as far as the digital marketing. But it's my expertise. I'm a coach, and I love coaching executives and the CEOs. But one thing is that I want to stress more is, what do we look at when we are challenged, when we are stressed? If you see there's dark tunnel right now, it's not easy for anyone. The economic downturn happened, and then also there's challenges out there, there's pandemic, and um, people are having, this is not an easy time, this is a challenging time. What do we look at? We have to look at the end of the tunnel, which is we have to see the light. We have to see the opportunities every time when we are challenged. That's how we can see the opportunities. But there's always an opportunity when we ask the right questions, when we look at what's positive, what's optimistic out there.
And can you give some more examples of what is the right question for those people that are listening or viewing this via YouTube and they're wondering, okay, ask the right questions, but what are some examples of questions I should be asking myself? Can you provide some of those?
Sure. It's simple. When this happened, when the pandemic hit, I said, what can I learn from this? It's one question that I ask every time when I'm challenged with the situation. What can I learn from this? Whatever you believe in, I believe in God, and I said, what is God trying to teach me and to teach people? And then how can I come up with the things that I will advance me and people around me? What do I do? And I came up with an answer right away. I say, I need to connect with people. I need to cultivate deeper, meaningful relationships right now, because people need to be connected right now more than anything else. And that's why I came up with a list of people that I need to connect consistently: my family, my friends, my mentors, um, my colleagues, and I connected with them, and my clients, and just easily ask questions like, how are you doing? How can I help you? And is there anything that I can help you with? And that, just one question, just, how can I help people? How can I add value to people's lives? That gave me so much growth opportunity. I connected with people that I will never be able to connect, because now everybody's home. So it's like, and it's like, it's easier to connect with people when people appreciate you more now, because nobody is calling, nobody is saying anything. It's like, how are you doing? And even my clients, I just call them and I said, I just want to connect with you, say hi, and then I just want to see if I can help you with anything, nothing to do with business. So that's one of the questions. And another question that I ask myself, I came up with the list of things that to do to advance my business and my life. And this question is so good. I think, what would it make it easy? If it was easy, how can I make it happen? If it was easy, like, things are challenging right now. But if you say that, if it was easy, what would I do? And I came up with shortcuts, so many shortcuts from that question. And um, and then also the most important thing is, as soon as I'm challenged, I'm having stress, and I say to myself, what do I have right now? Instead of saying, what do I not have? Instead of saying, like, what do I not control? Saying just, what am I, what do I control? What do I have? I have great friends. I build good relationships. And then there's so many things that comes to your mind when you ask the right questions. And how can I appreciate and love myself and people around me?
Yeah, and that's huge. Another question that I have asked myself as well is, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do? If there was no fear, what would I do? And because fear is what often keeps people stuck. And so when I remove those barriers, then it's like, okay, you have big dreams and ambitions. So then my next question is, okay, what do I need to do to make that happen? What's the one step I can do to get me closer to that needle? And it's a daily thing. It's something that you do daily. Anything you want, it's a daily process. And so it's kind of like, I believe in God too, and he says renew yourself on a daily basis. And so that's for me. Okay, what's today got in store for me? Let's go. Let's make it happen.
I asked that question. It's a beautiful question. What did you say to yourself? The first thing you said?
Oh, if I wasn't afraid, what would I do?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then I came up with an answer for that question actually. And a couple of weeks ago, I skydived. And
Oh, I love skydiving.
because I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. People ask me, it's like, are you crazy? Why are you doing that? And in fact, actually, I asked that question in the airplane to myself. Why am I doing that? Am I crazy or something? And it's like, my mind keeps going. It's like, what if the airplane crashes? And it's like, what if the parachute doesn't open? And this guy I'm jumping off the plane. Is he good? And then all kinds of questions came up with, and then I was able to do it. I was able to jump off the plane. When I landed, I said, I can do anything. And my mind was so clear. And I said, okay, when you get out of comfort zone, when you overcome fears, when you face fears over and over again, then it becomes so easier. This is my second time skydiving. And the first time I was so much fearful. Now this one is like less fearful. The third one, I'm sure it'll be like easy. So that's how we overcome the fear. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
have a fear of height. Now I don't, because I just built that muscle.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you answered the other question that I often say, what's the worst that can happen? Like literally. And if I'm okay with the worst, I mean, like if you're in the air, because I went skydiving in Germany and it was absolutely gorgeous, and paragliding in Korea, because I like same thing, like challenging myself. And it's like, okay, if I'm not afraid, what would I do? I have one more thing on my list that I have to do. That's like in South Korea, they have this big swing, the bungee swing. It's the highest swing in the world, and so that's one of the things that I plan on doing before sometime. I'm not gonna give a limit of when, but I'm definitely gonna have that on my list of things to do. So if you were to ask yourself that same question, like what's the worst that can happen, have you ever said that? And if so, what has been the outcome of that?
Actually, when I was in the airplane, I asked that question to myself several times. What's the worst? What's the worst can happen? And then I can die, right? I actually um, decided to change that question right there. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, what if everything goes right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we asked that question. What's the worst thing could happen? Yes, our mind is not designed to make us happy. Our minds our mind is designed to protect us. That's the machine right there protecting you. And we appreciate that machine, but we don't need it every time to protect us anymore, because we're not living in the first time in the 2 million years ago. And it's like every time we're in danger of like being hunted and being just killed, or, our mind is designed to protect us. But now, even in business, um, it's the same thing. The fear comes up. What if I fail? So, and our brain is like designed to protect us. So our brain says, "Well, you're not good enough. You, how can you make that happen?" And because it's just protecting us. And we have to break that pattern by saying, "What if everything goes right?" In that case, I landed perfectly, healthily, And I felt so good about myself. I felt so much confidence. And all of my friends called me and said, how'd you do it? I felt important, and I felt like inspiring people, adding value to their lives, and just they felt brave with me. And same thing with business. When I wanted to start my own coaching business, I came up with things like, what if everything goes wrong? And what would people say about me? And when I made my first video on YouTube, you can go and watch it actually. It's so funny. It's not good at all. And all of my college friends made fun of me. And I said, they told me, it's like, oh, you have an accent, you don't speak good English. And some of family members and my mom always still tell me, she's like, why don't you do a 9 to 5 job? It's just go back to bank and then just work in the bank. And I said, that's not what I was born to do. And this is what makes me happy is my purpose, which is opening, revealing impactful mindset shifts for people. So we are each inspired to have an authentic and meaningful life. And that's why I got to speak. I got to add value to people's lives. I kept doing it. I faced my fears of not being good. And 2 years later, 5 years later, 7 years later, it's every time those years just I kept doing the videos and I kept talking, and then people start saying to me, it's like, hey, you're so good. How can I be part of your mission? How can I influence people with you? And when you face your fears and then doing it over and over again and just facing it over and over again, you master things. And when you master things, it's funny enough, people who used to make fun of you, they want to be with you. And all of a sudden, I have people who want to work for me for free for some reason because they want to be part of my mission and my vision. Because I want to help corporate professionals, entrepreneurs to be outstanding at what they do and also feel fulfilled by discovering their purpose. And when people do that, when people hear that, they say, how can I help you? So that's how I embraced who I am, and then also kept growing from there by discovering the purpose.
Yeah, and if anyone's listening, they haven't started getting their notebook out and start writing out some things to help discover their purpose, something is definitely missing. So, Tonch, I know that you have something that you wanted to give those that are listening and viewing this via YouTube to really help them discover their purpose. Do you care to talk about it?
Well, after COVID, this pandemic started, I came up, I wanted to create something, and I came up with this ebook. It's a short ebook. It's just telling people about what I have learned from my life experiences. And it's about creating purposeful and meaningful life. So I came up with this short ebook. It's easy to read, and it's Christmas time, so that's my gift to your audience. And then if they just reach out to me, if they just put my name on Google, they can find me on any social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I have a website. And they put your show's name. I'll send them the ebook as my gift. And or we can put a link on your website or your podcast, so they can just find it from there.
Yeah, most definitely. So all of Tunch's contact is going to be in the show notes. And if the link is not there, you can just simply find him on Facebook, Instagram, like literally all the places that he is, and just reach out to him, mention Decide to Move podcast, and or mention Monica, and he's going to send you that ebook absolutely free. And in the and it's not just another book to say, oh, we got to read about his life. You're going to get some really good information and details and lessons that he has experienced that you can now use those in your life. That way you don't have to make those same mistakes or go down the path. So I would definitely download that ebook or get a copy of it as soon as you can. So, and if you're listening to this way later, because some people end up hearing it a couple months or whenever from now, definitely make sure that you send him an email with my name and he'll take care of you from there. So, Tunch,
Absolutely.
is there anything additional that you want to add to the listeners and viewers?
Yes. Last thing I want to say, people ask me right now, well, how can I be motivated? How can I stay motivated in these challenging times? I came up with this 4R, which is rethink, refocus, reconnect, and reinvent. So rethink, I will sit down and then figure out my purpose, why I do what I do. And then the vision, which is the future. What do you want to do? What do you accomplish in this world to add value to people's lives? So purpose is the foundation. Vision is the future. And who am I? The identity. For example, I came up with 3 things I say to myself every morning. I am love, I am brave, I am relentless. That I say to myself, that's my identity. And the 4th thing is that how do I align with my purpose? So rethink, and I came up with these 4 things: purpose, vision, and how do I align with my purpose and who am I? That's rethink. Refocus is focus on what's important only based on your purpose. Obsess with it, everything will be easier. The success comes from obsessing what is really important. And reconnect. You can have money, you can have status, you can have, you can be so successful, but there is nothing more rewarding than having people around you who love you unconditionally and you love them back. There's nothing more precious than that. That's why reconnecting, connecting with people with a deeper way, meaningful way is so, so important right now. Reach out to people. It's perfect time for that. And the last thing is, if you do these 3 things, rethink, refocus, reconnect, that will give you opportunity to reinvent yourself. The struggling times are the best times to reinvent ourselves, because struggle gives us the best lessons if you look at your history. And struggle, we gotta honor. Challenges, we gotta honor. And that's how we reinvent ourselves. And the big companies, like the last crisis in 2008, like the Uber and all of those, like Airbnb, Uber, all of those companies came up when the crisis hit. So you can reinvent yourself within these struggling times and challenging times.
Most definitely. Oh, that's great. And I don't think I need to add much on there besides that. So thank you so much, Tunch, for reaching out and, connecting with me and being on the podcast, so that way audience can definitely learn all the lessons that you provided, because this has been some really great stuff. And I always tell my, viewers, listeners, you can be a product of your environment or the fruit of your labor. You decide to move, change the trajectory, change the voice, change those messages, change the questions that you ask yourself, so that way you can actually find your purpose and move to a better direction. I'm Monica, and I'm so grateful that I connected with you. Happy holidays, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks again, Tunch.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M.Bijoux. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decide-to-move.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomovepodcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.